All right, 6 feet, going deep. It's Torius with
Chicostar.
All right, Chico. Why don't you tell us a little about what you do?
Well, I'm the VP and the head audio engineer, mixing and mastering engineer. I'm the head producer and the head A&R of BDL for Life Entertainment.
All right, so you pretty much like make beats, you do audio engineering, like.
I'm a jack of all trades, man. I started off only making beats and producing, and then I acquired the engineering, the whole technical aspect of music, mixing, mastering, all that.
Yeah.
And then after that, man, just to take it to the next level, I started getting involved in promo, online promo, like booking performances for like different events and shit.
You were like,
so dipping your toes into like a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me one second. Yeah, just to make sure it's like clear. All right. Yeah. So tell me about your early life. Like, how'd you grow up?
My early life, well, if we start from the beginning, I was born in New Jersey, Union City, New Jersey.
Yeah.
At 9 months, me and my mother ended up moving back to Hialeah, where my mother's from originally Cuba, but she grew up in Hialeah.
Yeah, I was about to ask if you're Hispanic.
Yeah, my mother's of Cuban descent and my father's of Puerto Rican. Well, they're not descent. She's from Cuba, he's from Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was the first person in my family to be born in the U.S.
So they were here and then they moved to New Jersey and then they came back, or?
She and my old boy moved to New Jersey, had me, and then after a little while, 9 months, came back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything from New Jersey? Or?
Nah, I was. I
mean, like,
and it was like an infant in New Jersey.
Do you ever go back there?
Nah, I'm actually planning on going back. Probably September, October, somewhere in the fall. But I have not gone. Well, I went back, but it was just driving through the state. It was this old job that I had.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I saw Trenton, and Trenton is pretty gritty. Right. I just drove by that shit. Yeah. But yeah.
Do you have like a lot of family up there?
Yeah, I do. I have 2 cousins up there. I got an uncle, and right now that's all I know of that I have up there.
So you went to school like pretty much on here, like Hialeah, right?
Yeah. Basically, I went to school in Hialeah my whole life. My high schools were Barbara Goldman, my freshman year. Then my sophomore and junior year, I went to Springs, and then after my junior year,
Coral Springs?
No, Miami Springs, senior high.
Miami Springs.
Yeah, I went to Miami Springs senior high, and after my junior year, I ended up dropping out.
Okay.
And then I ended up taking a GED course in Hialeah High for about 5 months or so, and then I ended up getting my GED diploma before anybody that I was supposed to graduate with.
So you like had a head start on life pretty much.
Yeah. Motherfuckers was calling me stupid for dropping out. I got the diploma before they did.
Yeah, so you don't have to like worry about like waking up early and all that shit, like,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
for the whole semester, like.
Exactly. For the whole last year, I just skipped out a whole year of high school. Basically, it was probably one of the best decisions I made. I don't really suggest it for anybody else,
really?
But me personally, I was gonna take 5 years to graduate high school because I was fucking off. I was doing whatever I wanted.
What kind of kid were you? Like a good kid or like a bad kid?
In high school, people would most likely describe me either as a class clown and kind of the troublemaker.
You was making jokes?
Yeah, I was making dirty ass jokes, man. I had the bad knack for cursing in class, man. I got kicked out of so many classes so many times for cursing. Yeah.
Was there a lot of bad kids in your school?
I mean, shit. I wouldn't say that the schools I went to was, fucking model material schools, but, shit, I really don't know how to answer that question. Like a bad kid, good kid,
like, I don't know, like kids getting arrested or like.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
No, but yeah, I see like your tattoos, you got a mix board on there.
Oh, yeah, I got mixing console, recording console. I got little speakers here. I'm actually planning on getting this whole sleeve done.
Really?
Yeah, this recording console is actually gonna go into like a keyboard. And the keyboard's gonna be on the other side of my arm, and then I'm gonna have my beat machine tatted on the other side of my bicep.
You have the one like so like.
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called. Novation. Is that it?
Well, there's different marks. You know, you have Roland, Akai.
Yeah, I just know the Novation one.
Okay, well,
like by brand.
One that I have, it's got to be like 20 fucking years old.
For real?
It's called the SP Boss 505, and I've been using it since I was 12 years old.
For real?
I still, up to this day, use it for my drums.
Was your was your family like musical? Like did they have a lot of music?
That's actually a funny thing. I've always kind of envied a little bit in a way kids that come from musical families and musical backgrounds because it's so easy for them to pick up and grasp, you know, the whole, you know, music scene.
Age,
exactly. They're growing up into it. Nobody in my family is involved in music whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah, I'm the first musician I think in the history of my family, you know, that I know of.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
What about like in like elementary school or middle school or whatever? Like you were playing any instruments or anything?
No.
Like that? Never?
Elementary school and middle school, my main passion was sports. It was baseball.
Oh really?
Yeah, I grew up playing baseball. From 7 to 14, it was just life was baseball. Oh. So yeah. That was definitely a positive memory about, you know, my childhood that I hold really dear.
What was like your best like skill? Like were you like the pitcher? Were you?
I was an infielder. I was a second baseman, shortstop, and my best skill was definitely fielding. I had the best hands out of any motherfucker on that diamond, bro. One thing I really took pride in was my fielding skills, and then probably behind that was my hitting skills. I was a pretty good hitter.
Right.
But playing the field was always my favorite part. Like fielding ground balls, that was my favorite part of the game, man.
Did you ever think you'd be like a Martin or anything like that?
I actually, for the first half of my life, for the first third of my life, I definitely thought that, without question, I was going to be like the next great second baseman for the New York Yankees. Okay. That was definitely like my passion to become a Major League Baseball player.
Who's the team for New Jersey? The Devils? No, down there.
Devils is hockey. Jersey, Jersey doesn't have a baseball team. No. Nah, usually people from Jersey root for either the Mets or the Yankees. Yeah, they just get off the New York teams.
You go for the Yankees.
Motherfuckers are gonna hate me for this, but I grew up, bro. I grew up a hardcore, diehard Yankee fan because of my family. Yeah, I have a very hardcore.
They're more into sports than music.
Yeah, no, definitely more into sports than music. Yeah, I mean, in the Cuban, like usual Puerto Rican or Cuban household, it's either gonna be fucking baseball, maybe boxing a little bit, the Puerto Rican side. Yeah, basketball. It's always gonna be like some sports, or unless you come from an artistic background. But most of the time, it's gonna be sports.
Yeah.
Music was just something that I picked up one day out of nowhere, like out of the blue.
How old are you when you started? When that happened, you just picked it up.
When I started making music.
You just let me do music.
I started doing music because my uncle introduced me to a program that he had in his computer called GarageBand. It's basically, you know what GarageBand is. Of course. He introduced me to that shit, and bro, it was a rap. Yeah.
What were you listening to at that time?
At that time, I was listening to hip hop.
Were you always into music, or was there a time when you're let me just start listening to music now?
I always had a passion for whatever I was hearing on the radio. There was always one of those one or two songs that on the radio when I was little that every time they would come on, your whole mood would change. So I knew that music had a certain effect on me that was more than the average person. So definitely from a small age, I knew that music was important in my life, definitely important in my life. I never, ever, ever in a million years would have thought that I would have been making a living off of music. Eating off of music was something that I did not think about before 12 years old.
You just wanted to do it for fun, pretty much? Or just listen to it?
Yeah, for the first 2 years, I wanted to kind of do it for fun. I started getting a little bit more serious and dedicated towards it around 14. Which is actually when I stopped playing baseball altogether. Yeah, between 12 and 14 was that era of time where I was kind of letting go my childhood, letting go baseball a little bit, fucking hanging around in the streets a little bit more, fucking getting introduced to certain types of music, and on top of that, I was getting introduced to making music.
Yeah.
So it was...
you were using your own GarageBand, or you were using like your uncle's still at that time?
I would ditch baseball every weekend. I would ditch baseball practice every weekend. It started once in a while, but then it started to be every single weekend to go to my uncle's house and use GarageBand and make music.
Were your parents getting upset?
My mother could care less because she didn't really have any like interest in me playing baseball. Yeah, and she had even less interest in music. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, I started taking it more seriously at 14, and that's when I actually kind of like maybe started I started to not even think of seriously, but imagine. Oh shit, man, what if, I could be like Swiss Beats or some shit, like those producers that you see on the front line and shit, which is actually, that's who made me want to become a producer.
Swiss Beats?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, like at that time, I remember he was like making like beats for like everybody, like Kanye, Diddy, like, like pretty much.
Bro, the guy's discography goes on and on.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, DMX were probably his first two biggest artists that he produced for. He did so much more, man. The Locks, Eve. Don't get me started on Swizzy, bro. I'll go on like for hours and hours. Another person that made me want to do this too is also Just Blaze.
Just Blaze?
Yeah. What you gonna ask?
I don't remember.
Nah, don't worry.
I think I was gonna ask you. Have you ever thought of like being like a rapper or anything like that?
I've actually laid down verses. I've stepped into that role for a session or two, but I've never taken the thought of me as an artist too seriously. I've always been more driven by the production and the composition side of music rather than the lyrical side of music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like how'd you like even learn how to do like everything? Like your uncle taught you how to do it? Or
my uncle does not know how to make music. He doesn't even know how to use the
GarageBand?
Yeah, he doesn't know how to use GarageBand. Everything was self-taught. I started for the first like few months just putting GarageBand loops together.
Yeah.
And it'll just make its own beat. And
you're showing people like, yo, look at this beat I made, but it's like, it's really
yeah, it's just like a bunch of like loops put together.
Yeah.
So then after the first few months of getting like acquainted with the system, hold up, fucking just brain freeze. After the first few like months getting acquainted with the system, I finally figured out how to make my own notes, how to play like the keyboard as if it was a musical keyboard. So I started doing that.
Did you have like any other knowledge of how to play piano at all?
No, I was doing everything on the fly.
Yeah.
So after I learned how to do that little thing, I definitely want to get some more
practice and knowledge.
I wanted to get some more hardware, some more equipment.
Yeah.
So that's when I ended up getting that Boss SP505, my drum machine.
Yeah.
And that was a wrap from then. That's when I started like really like doing my own drums and
like
feeling the music,
Do you feel like it's easier using the drum machine, or like is it easier to just use like piano roll and just like put in your...
Y'all gonna cut that part out, right? Nah, because I was just wiping my nose and shit. You edit the video, right? Oh shit, do you know how to edit it?
Yeah, but I just don't.
But this part right here ain't gonna be in it, right?
I mean, I put everything in it.
Oh shit! All right, people, you just caught that shit.
I try to make it natural,
Yeah, no, authentic.
Yeah,
definitely.
Authentic,
I definitely feel that shit, man. Not too many interviews go that like unedited,
Yeah. Because I want to see who you are,
Most definitely. Yeah, y'all just saw me wiping my nose. That nasty ass nigga, that's the real Chico. You already know.
Everyone wants to know. Yeah, you feel like it's easier to play play yourself, or is it like easier to like just put in like the piano roll, like just like drag and drop.
I mean, of course it's easier to drag and drop, but it's not you. It's just a bunch of loops and it's not your composition.
That's how I make my beats. I I'd have drum kits and I just like drag and drop it to because I use Logic. So
what, like drum patterns already?
No, just like a kick, snare.
Oh, okay. That's definitely your composition then. You're just selecting sounds.
Yeah, because I used to have a drum machine too, but but this was before I knew how to quantize and stuff like that. So I'll try to do, but then I mean, like, I knew how it sounded good, but then at the same time, it wasn't quantized, so it wouldn't go with anything, you know?
Yeah,
So,
nah, I hear you.
But then I learned how to, like, just drag and drop, and it was, like, a lot easier.
Definitely in that situation, I could definitely see the drag and drop technique being more
Yeah. But I do see,
easy
like,
and effective.
because I see a lot of top producers, they do the, you know, I don't see any of them drag and drop or anything.
Shit, man, I've done it. I've dragged and dropped snares.
Yeah.
Because most of the time I play them, but either way, man, you're gonna be quantizing something. You're gonna be, editing. You're gonna be putting that. It's not gonna land exactly on 2 and 4.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to quantize that bitch and move it directly on the grid to 2 and 4. So
Yeah.
so, it is what it is, dog. The only thing that matters is how the final product sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever have, like, any problems, like, people stealing your beats?
People stealing my beats, I have never had that problem.
Really? You don't put them up on YouTube, like,
I put them up on YouTube. I have a SoundCloud. I mean, there's a bunch of, like, platforms that you can see my music on.
Yeah.
And it's never been stolen. Are you talking about, like, another composer, producer, flat out stealing the instrumental and saying that it's theirs?
No, because rappers, they just, like, they copy the URL and put in, like,
okay. Like, have I ever seen a beat used without my permission?
Yeah, exactly.
Thankfully, I haven't. Motherfuckers better watch it. Motherfuckers better be thankful I didn't catch shit yet. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that's a big thing in, like, hip hop, and like a lot of people don't like to pay for beats.
Yeah, I already hate talking about that. If you don't have any local following, if you don't have any credentials or any weight to your name, you should be investing in every single aspect of the game that it takes: production, promo, mixing, mastering, studio time, record, everything, bro. If you're not willing to put in, what do you expect to fucking get out?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So every time, like, I come across an artist like that, I kind of try, to preach a little bit, show them light a little bit. You can't preach too much, though, man. Not every horse wants to drink the water that, you bring them to the fountain, however that fucking saying goes.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of like producers have the same thing. Like, sometimes producers, they, like, download software from, like, illegally and stuff like that, So it's like, I feel like it's kind of like the same thing, like, it goes around.
So you're saying that it's equivalent for a producer to download a sound kit or a VST with certain sounds, use those sounds as his own composition, and sell it.
Yeah, and then, like, a rapper takes that beat that the producer made, and then they, like, sell it, like, after shows. They make money, like, performing it.
I've never thought of it like that. I don't think it's equivalent. I think.
Yeah, that was the question. Like, if you think it's, like, the same thing.
More work has to go into doing what you're talking about on the producer's aspect.
Really?
I can see where you're making that similar, like that.
I guess, like,
the fuck is that word that I'm thinking about?
Similarity or
similarities, basically.
Metaphor or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, you're making that. You're comparing the two.
Yeah.
And it's understandable, which they both fall in the same category, but I think the artist just getting a beat off of YouTube, going to the studio with it, which happens a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And I think that takes a little bit less work than gathering the free VST, going and downloading the free sound kit, going through the sound kit, getting the actual sound from the sound kit, dropping it into the DAW, and then you got to do that about 25 more times for the rest of the fucking beat if that's how you're constructing the rest of your drums. So yeah, it definitely takes more work to do what you're saying as a producer than what it takes as what you're saying as an artist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I can see where you can make that comparison. That's the word, comparison. Finally, I fucking got it.
No, but yeah. Do you ever do, like, any, like, live beats or, like, live mixing sessions or anything like that?
What, you mean in front of clientele?
Yeah, or in front of, like, people, like, at shows or anything like that?
I haven't done it at a show. I've been in multiple beat battles.
What was it? West South Coast or something like that, right?
You're thinking about Coast to Coast, which is basically the artist version of what I'm talking about, which is iStandard. Yeah, I competed in an iStandard showcase probably a good 3 years ago, and I didn't do it live.
That was down here in Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, they have one in Miami at least, I think, twice every year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jay Hatch be fucking sending me emails all the time, which is, he's the CEO of the iStandard. He holds all that shit. But, yeah, it wasn't live. Basically, it was just beat presentation. Mm-hmm. I have made beats in front of clients, like custom beats. I have mixed in front of clients.
How long does it usually take you to make a beat?
Bro, it could take me 1 hour. It could take me 2 days.
For real?
Yeah. It depends on the beat itself. Some beats just come flowing out like that, and then some beats you actually kind of like gotta hop in and out the session, for a good like 2 or 3 days to actually figure out and morph. My bad for spitting on your phone, dog. I saw you look at that shit.
I don't know if it went there or like here.
Nah, well,
I think it went here. I don't think it's on.
I don't see it, so I think you good, dog.
Yeah.
But
like you gotta like you look at it and you're like, I gotta go away from it so get a
exactly. You don't want to like be listening to something for hours and hours on end, because then that develops ear fatigue. You want to give yourself a break every now and then for your ears to rest up.
Does it ever get annoying, like having like looping something and then you hear it like at the same like?
It gets mind numbing. It gets fucking it's like you're in an alternate universe. You're fucking going crazy listening to that shit for the 3,000th time.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's your job and you're passionate about mixing and mastering, so you're obsessive over it and you're hearing it for the 3,000th time. Like, okay, what can I do to make this shit sound better, bro? So, at times the mixing and mastering process could be the most frustrating thing out of anything that I do, including like beats, promo, vocals? Distribution, everything. Yeah, mixing vocals. Yeah, that's what, mainly when people talk about mixing and mastering is with vocals included. Yeah. I also mix and master beats for other producers that have a hard time mixing shit themselves, Do
you ever use what do you use to what's your DAW?
My DAW was Logic, man. I've been using Logic Pro since I was 17 years old, man. And that's like my wife right there. I wouldn't trade that for Pro Tools. Like for making beats, no. For recording, yes. But Logic definitely handles MIDI better than Pro Tools does.
What about FL Studio?
FL Studio. I've never been a big fan of FL Studio. Really? I've actually... It doesn't matter though, man, bro. People have made bangers on FL Studio, dog, so don't mind me, man. But I went to college, like Full Sail. I was in Full Sail for 2009, 2011. I spent a 2-year campaign in that motherfucker talking shit about Fruity Loops, dog. I used to call that shit Fruity Poops. I always saw it as kind of like a little bit of an amateurish DAW. Like, bro, if you want to take this seriously, fuck the bullshit. Go for Cubase. Go for Ableton Live. Go for Logic. There's plenty of good DAWs out there.
I think you have to pay like $100 for Fruity Loops, like for the whole, like to save your work and stuff.
This is one of the biggest problems that I have with it. You know who's motherfucking using Fruity Loops the most? Who? Kids that would just get pirated software that didn't give a fuck. Like and they just got Fruity Loops, ripped that shit, the crack version for free, and would just like start like making beats. There's a lot of motherfuckers that did that shit though. Yeah. But it's just the basically since it's for free and anybody could get it and everybody has it, and
it's like watered down pretty much.
Yeah. I kind of always looked at it as like.
I feel like that's how a lot of
the great value of DAW.
I think the frustrating thing is like when you're a Logic user, all the tutorials on like the beats, that you want to make are all Fruity Loop. They all use Fruity Loops. Like I look up like how to make a beat, and it's like Fruity Loop.
The majority of them are.
Yeah, like
there's a lot of.
I barely see any Logic.
There's a lot on Ableton Live and Cubase and shit that I've seen on YouTube.
But people are like...
there's Logic tutorials on YouTube,
there's like a couple.
There's tutorials for fucking wiping your ass on YouTube, dog, like everything. So, I'm sure you could find like some tutorials of... maybe not as many as Fruity Loops, because Fruity Loops is the most popular like DAW to get your hands on. So I guess that I would definitely see that having the most YouTube results. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you could educate yourself on YouTube, basically with any DAW.
Because I always thought like, oh, you know, people that make like EDM, like dance music, use Logic. Because like if you go on Logic, they have like all the synthesizers for like, you know, EDM, DJ.
Actually, there's a lot of EDM composers and like electronic, like techno composers that started on Fruity Loops, man. Fruity Loops was actually first used. I'm pretty sure Fruity Loops was first used by EDM composers before it was ever brought into the hip hop community, man.
Really?
Yeah, I heard a lot about that.
But I mean like
I'm not too sure about that, but I heard that a lot, especially when I was in Full Sail.
Because I know Ableton is like mostly for like EDM. Well, like mostly EDM like artists, like when you ask them, oh, what DAW you use? They're like, oh, I use Ableton. And then Logic.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Or Cubase. Yeah. I see what you're saying there.
And Logic, like when I first started, like that's all. I couldn't find any hip hop tutorials on Logic. All I found was EDM. So I learned how to make EDM first. That's how I started making beats. And then I started like, more people started using Logic, and then they started putting their tutorials up on YouTube. So then I started learning how to make hip hop because, like, you know, after a while.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I feel you.
I could never find those tutorials that everyone was just making straight EDM. So I figured, oh, people use Logic for EDM.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Have you ever tried making EDM? Like,
yeah. I've. It's fun to make, but
it's hard work, right?
Not really. Actually, EDM is way easier. Well,
really?
You have to have like a better ear for sound design, but when it comes to composition, big time, man.
Like everything's like a formulaic.
Kind of. I mean, in EDM, you hardly find like, well, you do find chord progressions in EDM, but usually a lot of the music you see in EDM is the same drum pattern, unless it's like dubstep or drum and bass or some shit.
You have like it's like 4 on the floor, right? Like dun dun dun.
Yeah, and then it's usually some monotone synths, like, you know, synths that really don't work with chords that much. Right. So in the aspect of sound design, I think EDM is harder to make. In the aspect of composition and like notes and stuff and like complexity of the music theory in it, any genre is basically easier than EDM in my opinion.
What about when you like do the drops?
That's the thing. In EDM, you need to be like sick with it with sound design. Like you gotta know how to pick out sounds like a motherfucker, like exact sounds, and you gotta know how to warp them shits. And sound design is probably the biggest aspect of EDM, probably the roughest aspect of EDM too, bro. Like I know you're talking about with them drops and shit.
Yeah, how they were like making like crazy sounds sometimes.
Yeah, man, it just sounds like out of this world, like some alien type shit. I know exactly what you're talking about, man. That's why, like, when it comes to their engineering skills and their like sound manipulation skills, that's where their respect comes into me. Like that's where I look at them and I'm like, okay, you know, definitely they're definitely doing something with some artistic merit.
Yeah, exactly. Like what kind of art? Like what artists have used your beats?
My production credits is something that I usually like to bring up a lot. I've gotten a lot of clientele because of my production credits. Basically, they range from Jadakiss, Chris Rivers, Terminology, Black Ice, Steve and Joe. As far as mixing credits, Lil Scrappy, 24 Hours, which used to go by the name Rolls Royce Rizzy. You know Made in Tokyo, right?
Yeah.
Rolls Royce Rizzy is his brother. Yeah, that's his older brother.
Oh, okay.
So, I've mixed their vocals before as well.
I heard of 24 Hours because of the XXO, because I saw him on the list, you know?
Yeah. 24 Hours, that nigga's doing his thing now, bro.
You think he would have...
he was always doing his thing with that Private Club Records, man.
Oh,
yeah.
Wait, he has a song with... What song does he have with Made in Tokyo? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure he has a few. I don't really know. But they're brothers, so they have to be collaborating on some tracks.
Do you think everyone goes hard on your beats?
Does everyone go hard on my beats? 99.9% of the time, yes.
What about that 1% of the time?
That 1% of the time is me remembering earlier in my career, like a good 3 or 4 years ago, when I was working with mainly a lot of local artists and still trying to, you know, navigate myself and network myself, you know, through bigger and better circles that will expand my clientele.
So, like, would there be like a lot of like SoundCloud rappers and stuff like that are like going on there?
SoundCloud rappers. I mean, if you're a producer in 2015 coming up right now, and you're networking with artists all the time, this is the era of SoundCloud rappers. So of course, I've collaborated with some rappers that you would consider SoundCloud rappers, although they have videos on YouTube which probably have double the views of niggas that that have a good amount, that have some good numbers on it. So the term SoundCloud rapper, that's been a tricky term lately. That's like one of those words that's been like going around a lot lately.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like SoundCloud rappers is like a rapper that people don't really know. They're just like lost in the mix. I feel like that's what that means.
SoundCloud has
because like,
how many millions of artists do you think would be on SoundCloud that don't have their own website or like any other online presence besides their SoundCloud?
Probably like 10 million. Probably around
I would say the majority of people with SoundClouds that make music don't have an additional website or any additional web content. If that's you, then I think you're rightfully placed in the category of SoundCloud rapper. Now, if you have write-ups, blogs, video content on YouTube, if you're featured on different sites, music sites, local hip hop sites, anything, if you're really like expanding and you just happen to use SoundCloud as your base for audio and for people to listen, and not your own website. I'm always gonna go with having your own website. Even though you should still have a SoundCloud, if you're taking this seriously, you should have your own URL and your own domain, your own website as well. Yeah. But if you don't have that, but you still have a YouTube account, pumping out videos, pumping out music, making features on publications, then I still value them as an artist. Mm-hmm. It's just that they still have a little bit more growth to do, but they're definitely on the right way. Now, if you're on SoundCloud posting shit once every couple of weeks, and you have nothing else and have totally nothing else on, online, on the table, or anything even in person, then that's when people are going to call you a SoundCloud rapper.
How often do you think you should post, to post your stuff to get, known?
That's a very, I don't know, the question, how often should you put out material for your fan base?
Yeah, pretty much. Because I know, with producers, you should put out, a lot more than, if you're a rapper. Right?
Well, me personally, I put out a set every month or 2 months.
A set of what? What's the set?
A set of instrumentals out on my website, Chicostar305.com. It's usually 10 instrumentals, new ones that drop within every month and a half and 2 months. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. That's me being a producer. Really, I think an artist, what's ideal for an artist nowadays with social media and everything, should at least be one new track. It doesn't even need to be a track. Maybe a freestyle a week. Drop a freestyle a week. I just think there has to be at least a weekly report, a weekly update. Let you know, motherfuckers still got his foot on the neck of this, rap game,
Yeah.
So definitely, I would say a week is a good time to. Lost for words again, people.
Space out.
Exactly.
You're dropping. What's the most that you ever sold a beat for?
The most I ever sold a beat for, the most an exclusive rights of mine has ever gone for is $900, but the max my exclusive rights go for $1,500.
When you sold that beat for $900, how'd you feel?
It was fucking. It was 2 years ago, so I wasn't moving that much material like that. Yeah. So when I got that off for that price, that was fucking, it felt great. Now, if I would get that off for that price, it would feel good.
How much, what's the average that you just hum for?
Well, my exclusive rights range from 300 to 1,500 depending on which beat. So it would. There's not a number that you usually. It's depending on the beat.
Yeah. Like how much it means to you, pretty much. Like
how old it is,
yeah.
How marketable it is, and what type of what category it would fall in are the three things that make up the price.
Yeah. How do you know you made a banger? Maybe.
You could feel it.
Really?
You could feel it. You could feel it. Once you know that you have some powerful and also catchy instrumentation going on and hard drums and just wildfire jungle percussion, my nigga, you already know that shit's a banger, dog.
Have you ever made alright, you're damn, this is a banger. You like how it sounds, but let me just add this one thing, and you put it, and it's no longer a banger because it's that one thing messed it up. Has that ever happened to you?
That doesn't really happen. You can't fucking ruin a banger that easily. It would make it less of a banger.
Because I see, because I watch a lot of tutorials on making beats and stuff, and I see, people, they make bangers, but then they're like, oh, let me put a melody, and it's and it's it sounds horrible, and you're like, damn, you ruined it. And everyone's like, yo, you ruined that beat, you ruined that beat. You should have just left it without that melody. And it would have been a good-ass beat, but they just decided, oh, let me put that melody in there.
That's one thing that really separates a seasoned producer from one that's not too experienced. It's knowing when to stop and knowing when that beat is that beat.
Yeah.
My bad.
Not to keep adding stuff.
Exactly. And even when there's even we're going back to the thing of a banger.
Right.
Even I've made beats that aren't quote unquote club bangers that I think are masterpieces, and I love them more than a club banger that I make. So, a banger isn't always especially when you're trying to produce for different types of artists, it's not always the end goal.
Yeah.
It's to make a quality product that would make a quality record.
Because I hear a lot of artists saying, oh, once I made that beat, I knew it was a banger, and then it was.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could tell whether the beat's a banger. Just something that you feel right here.
Because I know a lot of people that oh, that song's a banger, and then they put it out and no one hears it.
Oh,
that was
in the era of SoundCloud rappers, bro, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to this now than just putting music out. You have to focus on marketing, promotion, branding. You got to invest in graphics. There's a bunch of aspects to this business that is more than just the performing aspect of it,
Yeah. What do you feel is the best way of promotion?
The best way of promotion, live promotion, is obviously flyers and to do shows. To do shows either on the bi-weekly or the monthly, if you can, on the weekly. And that's the best type of promotion right there. Now, the online promotion, I would go getting on publications. The Source, Double XL, Fader, which you really kind of need to know people to get your music entered into those publications.
What about as a producer?
Even This Is 50, which is not as big of a publication, but it's still a publication, would be good. Some type of exposure to get your music doing some type of numbers and to introduce it to an audience that wouldn't have never fucking listened to it either way, another way.
What about as producers? How should you, you just, producers, they put out beats, but if no one's hearing it, how would they get someone to hear the beat?
Network with artists. Network with artists and build your marketing and branding. Get you a logo, get your own URL, and start networking with a bunch of artists and let them know, hey, you out here. And that's how you open up being a fucking beat business, Poppy. There you go, dog. Nah, that's one thing I got really amped up about that little question right there, because that's a question that I always get, man. That's one that I always get, and that's one that I really love answering because, bro, 4 years ago, bro, I was really asking myself the same questions, and I was, going through it.
Yeah.
But,
now someone asks you, just, here, watch the interview. You got it.
Huh?
if someone asks now, you just like here, just send them the link of the interview, and just now they got it.
Yeah, man.
Like,
can't give away too much fucking game for free, bro.
Yeah. How do you feel about like like Sunny Digital, his movement to make producers like bigger than the artists?
I think it's awesome. Really, that's Sunny Digital's movement.
Yeah.
I always thought that was Swiss Beats movement, bro. You see any producer in the video.
Sunny Digital is like he's trying to be a rapper so that he can like get the clout and then so that he can like he's trying to help like producers, like.
How is he trying to help producers by being a rapper?
I think he's like trying to show something. I'm not sure 100% like the exact
Well, anybody who is for getting the popularity of a producer up to the artist level, I'm for that. I love that idea. That's the whole reason I became a producer, is so we could fucking be the Swizzies and be more known out in the future generations. And I think that's awesome.
Because nowadays, everyone's like, oh, it's not about the what they're saying, it's about the beat.
Which I think that's also bullshit. It's a really big generalization that people make. Oh, nowadays people just listen to the beat. It's not just the beat. There has to be a hook and a concept to the record along with it, even if it is a dumb one. So it's not just people listening to beats. There's got to be something more on top of that. It's an overgeneralization. It's just, you know what it is, bro? That's something that people can say that don't know shit about music.
Yeah, that's true.
It's to seem like they could fucking, like they're up on game or something.
Because I know a lot of people, they just listen to what's ever on the radio, like whatever's popular right now.
That's how you become an ignoramus. Really, like depending on FM radio is dead. It's 2017, people. Most of these artists that came out didn't have any fucking FM support to begin with, and now look at Chance the Rapper. In the beginning, hardly any FM played. People like J. Cole dropped the warm up. In the beginning, hardly any FM played. Action Bronson, hardly any FM played. You know what all these artists have? They had a huge online presence years ago, and now that's why they're the stars they are today. It's moving more and more from FM radio. Now, I'm not saying that it's not necessary. FM radio, I feel like, is always going to be a little bit of a necessity. But as time goes on, it's becoming less and less and less of a necessity. I mean, it's already, like I said, it's 2017. There's way more ways of finding artists that you like. If you're blaming hip-hop for FM, like for what you hear on FM radio, and you're not making if you're not making any attempts to go out from FM radio and go onto the internet or even to your local scene and look for artists that inspire you, that's not hip-hop's fault. That's your fault. So definitely people gotta start, and I think it's definitely happening. People are finding new ways to discover new music and new artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like that's why SoundCloud is like so important, because like it's not just putting your music there. It's for like listening to other people's.
It's a whole community of artists.
Yeah, you find so many new things on there.
Man, what Chance did, I think what Chance did for the culture, I think it was great.
Yeah. Saving
SoundCloud like that. There was a lot of y'all shitting y'all pants for a couple days, man. Chance saved y'all ass.
What was I gonna ask? Do you feel like,
bro, this shit look like a First 48 interrogating room, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, this shit look like I'm fucking being interrogated for some fucking somebody getting murked in Little Havana or some shit, dog.
You know, fucked up, right?
Well, hold on. What was that? The fucking Chappelle show, dog?
That was. Well, I saw it from.
You don't fucked up,
but
right?
It was from like that movie Boys in the Hood, I think.
But they made like a parody of it.
Yeah, on the Boondocks. That's how I learned.
Don't be a menace to South Central. When the nigga lands on the windshield and the motherfucker with the toothpick, he's like, you don't fucked up, right? You don't. Yeah. I remember that shit. That was actually one of my favorite movies growing up, man.
Really?
Yeah. Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. I still don't know if I got that 100% right, dog.
That was the parody of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the parody.
Okay.
That's where I fucking got it from. But I know it happened in Don't Be a Menace to South Central, right? Don't be a menace to society. Yeah, don't be a menace to society. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now, what do you do like when you're not making beats?
What do I do when I'm not making beats? Working on promo, working on email blasts.
Consistently working?
Yeah. When I'm not being a producer, I'm being an A&R. When I'm not being an A&R, I'm being an engineer. when I'm not being an engineer, I'm talking to some artists about distribution. So it's a bunch of hats that I wear.
Was there like ever any time that you were like, you know, making beats is too like, you know, it's too frustrating or like anything?
Never. I mean, making beats was who I was for so many fucking years. And that's all of what I wasn't able to fucking get niggas on sites. I wasn't able to fucking mix you a song. I was for fucking 14, from like 13, 14 to like 18. Well, yeah, I learned how to mix and master like around 19, 20. I really started applying it to 22. So basically from 14 to 22, all I was beats. That's all I was. Niggas looked at me and they saw beats. I was a beat maker.
Yeah.
That was it. Really, I wasn't even at that time, I wasn't even that experienced to the moment where I could direct a session. Yeah, now I could fucking go into a session and I'm the quarterback. The fucking artist is the running back. And, you know, everything goes swimmingly.
Were you ever, like, did you ever see, like, them beats aren't, like, sounding, like, the way that you wanted them? The way that you wanted them to sound?
Yeah, of course. Some beats didn't start to sound like the way I imagined them sounding and wanted them to sound like a couple years later when I learned and got better at mixing. So I went back to all my old discography of beats and I remixed them all. And it's always going to keep on progressing. Now 3 years later after that, I'm going back to those old mixes and seeing how now I can improve even better on those. Yeah. So it's always going to be a evolutionary process.
You ever feel like the old beats that you made, like you're like, oh, they're too old for me to like work on? Or like you still like to work on them and you put them out? There was
one day where I started my official beat discography. And since that day, that's the beginning of my official beat discography. Really? It was this beat that I made. I think I was...
Was it like a brand new beat or like it was an old beat that you just went back to?
No. It was this. The first one was from when I was 18, and it was a new beat. It wasn't no beat that I went back to. I started learning how to do new things, and I learned finally how to use the grid pretty late. People were really surprised at this, but I didn't learn how to use the metronome and the grid.
The piano roll?
Not the piano roll. You know, like the lines where like you're supposed to, basically quantization.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't learn how to use that whole shit until I was about 17, 18.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so then once I learned how to use that, I started going crazy, bro. I spent a good 6 months getting really acquainted with that, making these beats. And then after that, I was like, all right, now that I know how to do this, and I'm, leaving to Orlando pretty soon, it's time to start the first official one that I'm going to be ready to sell. And I made it. I started working on it. I made it. I started working on it. And ever since then, that was the first Chico beat added to my production discography. It's called Thunder Cry. If you go all the way back to like page 11 of Chicostar305.com, you'll find it.
You sold it? Like, how long did it take you to sell it?
I didn't sell it. I didn't sell the exclusive rights. It's still there. I have leased it quite a few times.
How do you feel about, like, what do you consider leasing?
Everybody has their own leasing and exclusive right terms. I have my leasing terms and exclusive rights terms. My leasing terms are basically, they're good up to 2,000 sales. After that, exclusive rights are required to move forward with the distribution of the project. I feel about leasing that right now, if you're not signed to any major label, if you don't have any major publishing contract, and if you're not getting any major, and I'm talking about like major, like a placement on like 444 by Jay-Z or some shit. Yeah. If you're not doing that right now, then you have to be leasing and exclusive rights and be doing that whole game right there, though. It's just way too big of a lane to get money from to not be doing it as a producer, man.
To not be like leasing?
Exactly. You don't even have to do all of your material. You don't even have to choose your most exclusive material. You could set that off to the side. Mm-hmm. But, bro, for you not to have a beat store and put some available to the public or even available to local artists that, you know, grab your attention and just want to get a beat off the beat store, to not have that there is just a waste. I feel you should always have that there available to the public if you're not at a fucking Metro Boomin or Mike Will level yet.
Yeah. Do you have like any like? Was there ever a time like you feel like you made any mistakes, or like you want to give some advice to like anyone that wants to start like, you know? Making
of
beats?
Course, the biggest mistake, one mistake that I really think that I could have avoided if I would have started sooner was I didn't grow up like very computer savvy. I actually. Logic was it was a fucking miracle that I knew how to use GarageBand and Logic.
Yeah. Cause
I was horrible with computers my whole fucking life, and I never had a MySpace. I was never into social media. In high school everybody had a fucking MySpace page.
Yeah.
I didn't have a MySpace. I didn't get on Twitter until I was 21.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
I was on Twitter like I don't know, like 14, 15.
That's where I felt like I kind of messed up. If I would have started doing this you should start doing this at 18, 19. If you're 18, 19, being a beat maker, producer, get on that shit though. Like as a fucking brand too. Like make sure what your name is going to be. Get you a graphic designer, have him make you your own custom logo and start pushing that logo like a motherfucker. Get your own domain, set up a little beat store, and then direct a shitload of artists to that shit. So, I definitely think that's
it's like important.
A guaranteed route to go if you're not at that level yet.
Yeah. All right. You have anyone you want to shout out?
Do I have anybody I want to shout out? Let me get a shout out to BDL for Life, City of Hialeah, Miami-Dade County 305. The whole state of Florida, man, but especially my hometown of Miami, bro.
305, yeah.
You already know, my nigga. It's all about that Dade County, bitch.
Where can they find you at? Like all your social media and your website?
You can follow me on Twitter, Chicostar305, Instagram, Chicostar305, Facebook, www.facebook.com/ you guessed it right, Chicostar305. And you could also subscribe to my YouTube channel on youtube.com/c/Chicostar. And you could always find that heat on Chicostar305.com. Dale.
All right. Nick Torius was 6 feet, and this was
Chicostar, bro. Chico motherfucking Star.